Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Second Breakfast podcast. I'm Andy Roth, alongside Phil Duvall. Say hi, Phil.
I'm going out of my mind, Andy.
Why are you going out of your mind, Phil?
Because we're doing a gauntlet.
It's time for another Gauntlet.
Gauntlet. We actually, you
Yes.
know what, Andy? It's a special time. It's an auspicious time in the Second Breakfast podcast world because we try to do a gauntlet a month. I mean, we don't try. We try to limit ourselves to a gauntlet a month. We
Yeah.
actually have two gauntlets behind this gauntlet already ready to go.
Yes. And at least one more, at least two more that I know of that are currently being written.
So if you've sent us a gauntlet and we haven't done it, we're working on it.
Indeed.
We're working on it. This one is honestly, this gauntlet was the easiest to do because it's the one I've seen all the movies for.
Nice.
Okay, so just so you all know, there's someone who sent us a sports themed gauntlet, and I have to watch like half the movies before I can even anything like complete this. Because the thing about a gauntlet is, even if you fail miserably, like you got to compete. You got to
That's right.
compete.
That's right. You got to show up.
Yeah, you don't throw someone in the arena with no axe.
It's true.
That's just
It's true. No,
give
you're
him
right.
a fighting chance. Give him a fighting chance. Okay, so we've got a gauntlet, and this gauntlet is from.
Our friends, the Robs, Michael and Vanessa. You might remember. Doctor and Doctor Rob. You might remember
Doctor.
the male Doctor Rob from our discussion of children's movies.
Yep.
He's a PhD in the coolest thing ever. He's a PhD in being awesome with TV and children.
That's actually what it says on his diploma.
That's right. That's right. It's a kind of a wordy diploma, but it still works out pretty well, right?
Right. He has a PhD in developmental psychology, and he focuses all of his study and research. He works for the Fred Rogers Institute, as in Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
And he focuses all his research on programming for children and how it educates them and how it ruins them and all the stuff in between. Dr. Vanessa Robb is a dentist, and she is, from what I understand, a phenomenal dentist, and she's always been good at everything she does. So it's no question that between the two of them, their gauntlet would be a phenomenal gauntlet.
What? Why would she be a bad dentist? She's awesome.
She's good at everything. I mean, she's never touched. I haven't had her near my teeth, but that's just because she lives on the other side.
Right. I don't want to give the impression that I know that she's a good dentist from personal experience. I mean, I go to a different dentist. I just live in a different place.
Everything I know about her tells me she's probably an amazing dentist. Also,
Indeed.
not gonna lie about this, not unattractive, and all I'm saying, have a beautiful dentist. No, listen, she's my friend. She knows I think she's beautiful. Having a beautiful dentist, who wouldn't want to go?
That's true. That's true.
Come on.
Yeah, no, totally.
There's a joke that Stephen Wright does about how he has a crush on his dentist, and so he always spends the 45 minutes before the dentist just eating a whole box of Oreos.
Awesome.
So Vanessa, if you were my dentist, I would eat a box of Oreos. So anyways, I love both of them. They are some of my favorite people in the universe, and they've written us a gauntlet.
My two favorite, since you got me thinking about them now, I'm not going to say my two favorite because you can't pick, but two of my favorite Stephen Wright jokes. I bought some used paint. It was in the shape of a house. and I got some dehydrated water, but I don't know what to add.
I think it's bad that only one company makes Monopoly. That's a perfect joke. It's perfect.
Yeah, no, that is.
My favorite joke of his, actually, I mean, he has jokes that are quote unquote funnier or whatever. But my favorite joke of his that's just crystal perfect joke is he goes, "You can't have everything. Where would you put it?"
Thank you for reminding me of that. Are you ready for this? That was on my senior page, my high school yearbook. Yeah.
Come on, seriously?
Yes. You can't have everything. Where would you put it?
Andy, do you understand the degree to which you and I were made for each other?
I know.
It's terrifying.
You want to get a timeshare somewhere?
A little bit.
Just go somewhere and hold each other.
You know what we're doing? We do this every single time we have a gauntlet. stalling.
It's true. It's true, folks. We have a tendency to to stretch. We got to stretch the time
Well, with
because
because
gauntlet
the gauntlet always
questions.
freaks me out. It's a freaky thing. It's so
Yeah.
many questions. So the
So
gauntlet is like for
gauntlets.
those of you who don't know. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So gauntlet questions are usually, but not always, multiple choice. Um, we reserve the right to give an answer that is one of the choices and then supply another answer if we so choose. But they are designed, if you are thinking of not just enjoying this podcast that you're starting right now, but also uh, constructing a gauntlet of your own to send to us. They are designed to test us in some way, and
Can I?
you will see that in the gauntlet we're about to do. Please.
The guy who first wrote the Gauntlet was a friend of mine named Josh Edwards, who he made a point of saying he basically made a list of questions that were for our mailbag, except there were so many questions we couldn't do them all in one mailbag, and they all had multiple choice answers. And when I talked to him about it later, he goes, "I just wanted to see if you guys were all right."
Awesome.
Like it was his way of being like, we'll see about these guys. And so it you saying it's testing us is actually pretty accurate because our
Sure.
answers, the people who write the gauntlet, it's like them being like, okay, okay,
I hope, right?
yeah,
I hope.
or
So,
we're done.
without further ado, because we could literally stall on a gauntlet forever.
Forever.
Forever. Here we go. Question the first. What Pixar movie would
Oh,
you most like to see as a live action film? CGI is allowed in this hypothetical film.
okay.
The three: Wall-E,
Hmm.
Toy Story,
Hmm.
Ratatouille.
Wow.
I know.
Do you wanna, or do you want me to
I can go.
go?
I can go. Wall-E. Wall-E. I I mean, it would be amazing to see all of them, but looking at a very very lifelike, even if it's CGI, rat cooking, you're not going to get. I mean, one of the most amazing things about Ratatouille were like the double takes and the reaction shots you got watching Remy as the human that he's controlling does something dumb, right? And also watching sort of the look on his face as he explores his love of food. And I don't really know how you do that in a live action film.
Hmm.
Um, Toy Story would haunt my nightmares forever. It would just haunt my nightmares forever. But Wall-E, I love me some post-apocalyptic. I like the environmental message. Robots are cool, you know.
Andy,
Yep.
robots are cool.
I figured you'd agree with me on that. That's honestly that's all I got.
It's funny because you went. I think I agree with your answer, but I think it's funny what you said about. I think I would reverse the answers for Ratatouille and Toy Story. You said Ratatouille, it's fun to see their expressions, and Toy Story is your living nightmare. I'm sorry, Ratatouille live action would be a nightmare. I believe they made it. I believe it was called Willard, and it had Crispin Glover in it.
It's true. It's true. You do have to get over the hundreds of rats in a kitchen thing. All I will say
That's.
about that,
Can you imagine
all
if
I'll
they
say
made a
about
Pixar
that,
movie about spiders? I would be
right?
out.
All I'll say about that, Phil, and this is not to disagree with you. They were able to make me forget about the ick factor,
No, no, totally, completely out of.
And yes, it's live action
No, no,
versus
Andy,
animation, but still.
and they can only do that because it's animated. If it wasn't animated, it could not be done, in my opinion. So, and my wife hates rats, and she can watch Ratatouille. I don't hate rats, but
You might be right. I've actually given some thought to this. Not live action movie, but what it says, that the rats in the kitchen thing, because some critic, I think it was Richard Roper, was like, "Look, I don't know that I can't review this movie honestly because I couldn't get past it." Um, which I think is a fair
that's
thing to sort of
fascinating.
admit.
That's fascinating. Good for him.
Yeah.
I think so. Toy Story. Here's the deal. My problem with answering Wally is while I think that's the answer, I almost think like it's a cop out because it would be an almost identical film. first of all, the animation feels so real, except for the people.
It's true.
Um, Other than the people, I mean, the way when all the scenes on Earth look, I mean,
Yeah, photorealistic. Yeah.
and then and photorealistic. Thank you for that. And then all the space stuff would have to be animated anyway. If you wanted a live action Wally, you could just watch Short Circuit again. Um,
Nice.
so Wally is like of those three movies, Wally's my favorite. Of Toy
Sure.
Story 1, Ratatouille, and Wally, it's not even an issue.
Right.
I'm going to go with Toy Story. I'm going to go with
Okay.
Toy Story because I think it would be a remake live action that they would, unless it's just a shot for shot. If we are like, how do we get the most realistic movie of these three? How do we get the live action movie that looks the most like the Pixar? Then I go with Wally. But if we're talking about like, what's the best shot of success for a live action movie? I'm going to go with Toy Story. And it's going to be, I think it still would be creepy, but I'm still going with Toy Story.
Sure.
So that's my answer. Toy Story.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, but it's I mean, Wally's a better movie, so tricky.
Nice. All right. Moving on. Next question. What typecast actor would you most like to see with a breakout role? Michael Cera, Rob Schneider, Kate Hudson.
Can we just immediately dismiss one of these people as quickly as possible?
Go for it.
I mean, we're kicking Rob Schneider out of this conversation
Clearly, yes.
immediately.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't even. It's a
Yes.
little bit of it's a little bit of a blotch, a blemish on this otherwise fine gauntlet that his
true.
name is
It's
appearing
true.
on.
When your career highlight is going, you can do it in someone else's movie that you weren't the star in.
Is he the one who says that?
I think so.
What's that from? What movie is that from?
It's isn't it Happy Gilmore?
It might be. I say that all the time. That's funny. I didn't realize that was him.
Yeah.
I thought his highlight was the announcer from Necessary Roughness, which is still, in my opinion, a phenomenal movie. Fumbleaya, Fumble Brewski. So the answer for me, Andy, I'm going with Kate Hudson, and here's why. Because Michael Cera will get it. It's going to happen for him. I'm not worried about Michael Cera. Michael Cera is young and hip and very, very gifted. And what we forget about Kate Hudson when we typecast her is that she started out in Almost Famous and has already expressed an incredible range that since then she has not shown. But she has it. And my concern with our culture is the older women get, the less likely they are to get amazing, like to get starring roles, which is stupid.
Yeah.
I don't like that. But I want Kate Hudson to sneak in there before it's too late, if there's such a thing. Like, I want her to, we know she's good.
Yeah.
And we know, except that people who haven't seen Almost Famous don't necessarily know it. You and I know it. People who
Right.
know she is amazing in Almost Famous. She is. I watched that recently. She is phenomenal. Michael Cera, I love Michael Cera. I mean, come on. But I don't really need him to. I think he could just keep doing what he does, and it will come. Like, I really believe that. I think he's that good, and I think it'll come. I want to see Kate Hudson. I want something different for her. Actively. That's my answer.
Not only is that my answer, that's my reasoning, and I want to say a couple things about it.
Nice.
Because I agree with you. I think Kate Hudson has it and is moving farther and farther away.
Yeah.
To the point where, I mean, she doesn't actually have that much of a career anymore. She's not in a ton of movies.
I know.
Which is, A, weird, and B, a shame, because Penny Lane, she's so good in Almost Famous.
Yes.
Very briefly, apparently the "You Can Do It" is a running gag in many of the Happy Madison movies. The Waterboy, Little Nicky, 51st Dates, The Longest Yard.
God, most of those are terrible movies.
I know.
The best movie you just listed
Yeah.
was 51st Dates.
First Dates,
It is-
yes. Agreed.
It is not good, but it's
Agreed.
mediocre.
Yes. Apparently not in Happy Gilmore. Whatever. I mean, I aggressively don't care. So the other thing about Michael Cera, he's already started.
Yeah.
I get that, like, Scott Pilgrim is an awkward person, but he's not George Michael Bluth awkward. It's a
Right.
different kind of thing.
Yeah.
George Michael is clearly someone who's going to be the CEO of a company, whether or not it's the family company someday. He's one of those guys, right? Scott Pilgrim is a 20-something schlub who is stuck in a rut. Those are two very different things.
Yeah.
And you could see why someone who was cast in one would be cast in the other. But I stand by that. And I will also point this out. This was not a great movie. But he was in a movie called Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist.
Oh, it was not a great movie, but it was a really, really good
I
movie.
agree with you. I agree with you.
Oh,
I agree. I
him and
agree.
Kat
And
Dennings.
he was he was he was the object of, like, sexual desire in that movie. It was a sexy role for him.
And
And
he
he
was,
pulled it
and he
off.
was, yeah, and he was, yeah, and he breaks hearts in Scott Pilgrim, but you don't see that part of him because he's so neurotic.
Right.
Um, that's a very good point. If I was in high school when Nick and Nora's playlist came out, I would have first of all been beyond in love with Kat Dennings,
Sure.
like beyond in love. It
Right.
would have been a whole other thing. And then on top of that, that would
I
have been one of my
love
favorite
you.
movies in high school. If I know, love isn't enough. I love you.
I love you. I loathe
Oh.
you. Sorry, go ahead. I interrupted.
Is that Annie Hall? Is that Annie Hall?
Yes. Yes, it's
Oh,
Annie Hall.
oh, I love that so much. I'll say that to Krista every once in a while. I'll be like, "I love you," and she doesn't. I don't. I honestly don't know if she knows what it is. She may not have never ever seen Annie Hall. She has
Well, there
no
you go.
desire to see Woody Allen movies. So it's just she just thinks I'm a weirdo. But she's like, "Well, you're weird."
She married you.
Poor, poor
I
woman.
interrupted you. You were saying.
No, so Michael Cera. I think you're right. That's an interesting point. And I guess if Michael Cera keeps doing what he's doing, even if it is variations on a theme, it's a great theme. Like it's like AC/DC. Like play
Yeah.
that song over and over again, AC/DC. It's a great song. So I want to see Kate Hudson. I want to see Kate Hudson. Except he's not AC/DC. He's more like Iron and Wine. Hey, Iron and Wine, play that really soft, hushed song one more time. It's like
Indeed.
if you don't know what that is like, Andy, it's like all the background music for Parenthood.
Sure.
One more moody acoustic song. Um, so Kate Hudson, we both agree.
Kate Hudson. Somebody cast Kate Hudson. Here we go. Phil, robots are cool. You know how I know?
Tell me,
It's the subject of the next question.
Andy,
Who would be
robots are cool.
who would be your best robot pal?
Centennial Man. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Just go. Just go.
Haley Joel Osment.
Just go. Johnny Five from Short Circuit. TikTok from Return to Oz. Well done. Nice there. And
You know, Mr.
Max
Obscure.
from Flight of the Navigator.
Okay. A little disappointed that Sean Young in Blade Runner isn't on this list,
Indeed.
because that would be clearly the answer.
Yes. She would be my best replicant pal. Indeed.
Okay. Okay. Or Ripley in Alien Resurrection, although I haven't seen that, so it's fine.
She's not
Isn't she? I haven't seen it. Isn't she a robot in the
no,
fourth one?
she's a clone.
Okay,
I
enough.
hate
I'm
you for
sorry,
making
I'm
you
sorry.
remember that movie. Go
Sorry.
ahead.
It's been on HBO a lot lately, and I've been not watching it on purpose.
That's solid call.
Okay.
Good job. Good job there.
I have only seen Return to Oz once, maybe twice. I saw it in the theaters, and I was like, "Oh, it's like someone took The Wizard of Oz and then terrified it." Like,
Yes.
I know that's not how you use that word, but I don't know how else to use it. I really don't.
No, that's fair.
So to me, I don't remember TikTok very well.
Yeah.
Flight of the Navigator, Max, and what's the other one?
Johnny Five.
Oh, I go with Flight of the Navigator for many reasons. One, it's a time traveling spaceship.
Yes.
There's literally nothing cooler than that. Wait a minute. Yes, there is. A time traveling spaceship with the voice of Paul Rubens. I'm in. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm out. Good night, everybody. That's it. What else is there?
Phil, we agree. We agree. Max, Flight of the Navigator. He's fun. He's
Ugh.
a time traveling spaceship. We're done. But
But
I have a wild card. I have another one. From the seminal film Space Camp,
go ahead.
Jinx. Have you seen Space
I don't.
Camp?
Yes, and yes, and it's
All I'll
not
say
a
is
memorable
this:
film. I do not remember.
he's basically a ball with legs, but rollers.
Okay.
And he what he does is, because he is friends with a kid that's in the crew, and what they're doing is they're doing like an engine test. They're going to fire up the engines, and everyone's sitting in their spacesuits uh, in the spaceship, the space shuttle. And then they're going to end the test, and they're going to get off, and that's it. You're done. And the what Jinx does for Max is he basically causes a malfunction where the choice is let the space shuttle explode or send them into space. Actually launch it. So what you've got here, my robot pal is willing, and this is all based on Max saying in front of Jinx, man, I wish I could go into space. That's it.
Wow.
So, to help my dreams come true, my best robot pal would be willing to kill many, many people, is all I'm saying. And,
I like
I
that.
mean, it's
Although
nice to have that
Johnny
on your side.
Five, I agree. If you stick with the list, Johnny Five is originally created as a military weapon.
That's true. That's true.
So, I think that's something to consider. I
Yeah.
think also if I chose Johnny Five or Number Five, whatever, I would just insist on calling him Wally, and then I would reenact the My Fair Lady sequence, or is it Hello Dolly? It's Hello Dolly.
It's Hello
I would
Dolly.
reenact the Hello Dolly sequence and make him sing the song while we held hands.
Number 5 is alive. Shut up, your name's Wally. Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty great.
totally.
It's pretty great. All
Next
right.
question.
Yes.
Which president do you most want in a time of need? President James Marshall from the movie Air Force One,
Okay.
Harrison Ford.
Get off of my
President
plane.
Thomas, get off my plane. President Thomas Whitmore, Independence Day, Bill Pullman, and
Yep.
Dave from Dave, played by Kevin Kline.
I have my answer. I already have my answer, and I'm unshakable on this. So go ahead and
Okay.
answer. Go ahead. You can go first.
Um, it pains me to have to kick him out, but if the question is in a time of need, I gotta let Dave go. I gotta let Dave go, and I bet he's your answer. But, I mean, let me put it this way. Dave is confronted with your normal run-of-the-mill, I am the president, and these are the crises I have to deal with things. Gotta balance the budget, political machinations behind the scenes, blah, blah, blah. President James Marshall in Air Force One, his family is taken hostage aboard the most impressive plane in the world. So he has to figure out how to defeat them aboard Air Force One. President Thomas Whitmore has to defend the Earth against aliens. And he does it by getting into a plane. But not until after he gives us maybe the most inspiring speech in movie history. I love that speech so much, it is ridiculous. If you could marry a page of a screenplay, I would be off the market, ladies. I am telling you. It's emotionally manipulative and
Yeah.
just the worst, and I love it.
Yeah.
It's like
Okay.
candy.
Okay.
That's my answer.
It's a great answer, Andy.
Thanks. Thank you.
I would never in a million. This is where my art fanciness comes in. I would literally never choose anything from Independence Day for almost anything. It is a love. That speech is rousing.
Yes?
It is not anywhere near my favorite speech of anything that ever happened to anybody. But
Sure.
but I
Sure.
know,
Totally.
but I recognize that I'm in the minority, and I know that it's really, really our generation really connects with Independence Day in a way that I think is nice.
Sure.
What I remember about Independence Day is, and I've seen it. I mean, I've seen it a lot of times. But what I
Very
remember,
watchable movie.
yeah. But I'm done mostly at this point. Um, the answer is not Harrison Ford. I don't want a president who sleepwalks through life. It's just no.
Yeah.
My answer is Dave. You were
Sure.
correct, and I don't agree with you that Dave only handles the run of the mill presidential stuff, because what he does is he first of all takes a crisis head on, kicks out, like, just crushes and vanquishes with his thumb. What do you call that stuff? Oh wow, I'm losing it. Like all of the crooked stuff that happens in the president's corruption. That's the word I was looking for. You see what the Gauntlet does to a man? The Gauntlet tears me up inside.
Sure.
He squashes corruption with his little thumb, and then I mean, he gets jobs for people, and he does all sorts of things, and he just, like, makes compromise work and all this stuff. And I have to believe that if in the midst of all that someone was like aliens, he'd be like, I could deal with them too. I don't think he would have destroyed the alien race. I think he would have found a way to make them like us. I think when Dave is done with the aliens in Independence Day, we're all friends, and they're teaching us how to read people's minds and fly across the universe.
That is beautiful. That is
You're
beautiful.
welcome.
I feel compelled, and this is not to change your answer because I love it. I feel compelled to remind you that Dave is not actually the president. And all of these wonderful things he's doing, wonderful, no argument,
Sure.
he's doing while perpetrating one of the 5 biggest crimes in American history, would you say?
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
and I'm glad he does it.
I'm completely comfortable with that answer,
Awesome.
actually.
No, that's
I'm,
fine.
I'm totally
That's fine.
because here's the thing, right? I dare you to name a president that's not a crook, but
Sure.
at least we know what he's guilty of. and I love like if you think that I think that, and I won't even, Clinton and Nixon are way too easy. All right.
Sure.
I'll go with Bush and Obama, the last 2 presidents. If you think I think either of them is remotely clean and, like, on the slate, no, oh no, my friend.
Sure.
But at least Dave, we know exactly what he did,
Yeah.
and he's got his buddy Charles Grodin to help out. He's got an accountant named Charles Grodin who goes, get out of here as fast as you can. Also, his wife is Sigourney Weaver.
Yes. Yes.
Dave is my favorite movie president ever, with the very possible exception of Daniel Day-Lewis as Abraham Lincoln.
Awesome. He is absolutely my favorite. He's absolutely my favorite movie president of all time. No question.
So I have to go with that. I have to believe that he would bring the same kind of no nonsense, folksy wisdom and integrity while breaking the law to a hijacked Air Force One and alien invasion that he would to a budget crisis. So,
Sure.
Way to go, Dave.
Fair.
I mean, he once caught a fish this big.
Aloo, aloo, I love. Oh,
Everybody
man.
go see
So
Dave.
good.
Don't do
So
it until
good.
this is over. But seriously, Dave, Ivan Reitman might be Ivan Reitman's last great.
Thank you for bringing up Charles Grodin. I love him so much in that movie.
Yes.
If I ran my business this way, I'd be out of business.
Yeah. No, he's the voice of reason in the world in this movie. This and Midnight Run. For those 2 movies alone, Charles Grodin will be in my heart forever.
Forever. Choose the best film comeuppance. Biff Tannen from Back to the Future, Randolph and Mortimer Duke from Trading Places, R.J. Fletcher from UHF.
All right.
Please.
Remind me what happens to Biff Tannen in Back to the Future, because there's 3 of them. I mean, he gets poop on him. Is that
All of them, yes.
Okay, but is that the main
And
thing?
he gets beaten up by a pipsqueak in the first one.
Get your damn hands off her.
Hey, you.
That's
No,
our second
Biff.
Crispin. That's our second Crispin Glover reference of the Gauntlet. I'm really excited
Well done.
about that.
Well done there.
We're doing
Yeah.
it's a good Gauntlet. Okay.
Let's not bring up Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland to make it a hat trick.
Haven't seen it. No problem.
Ugh, bleh.
I would bring up River's Edge, which you need to see. In fact, I'm going to
I do.
assign River's Edge to you in the next couple of weeks. We're going to watch
Fair
that.
enough.
We should do 80s movies people need to know about. That's the subject. First of all, this is like Dave, where I almost have to choose. It's almost just like saying, Phil, what's your favorite movie of these three? I love UHF with a blinding love that is brighter than many suns.
Okay.
And I mean, I really do. I just think it's so one of my favorite movies of all time. I grew up on it. It means so much to me. R.J. Fletcher is one of the worst people that ever was.
Indeed.
As far as I remember, what happens to him is that he loses his studio. He loses his studio. And a homeless guy takes his Rolex, and an old lady kicks him in the groin.
Yes.
It's pretty
I
fantastic.
believe that's right. I believe that's
Yeah,
right.
and I believe in that order. So it's pretty fantastic. Randolph and Mortimer have by far the biggest comeuppance. I mean,
It's true.
they're racist millionaires who basically get sent to jail and then the poorhouse and have all
Yes.
of their assets taken from them. That is
Yes.
by far the coolest comeuppance. I mean,
Yes.
Trading Places is, when you look at those three, Trading Places is the comeuppance that is like, and the thing that I love about it, I've watched Trading Places like fairly recently, a couple months ago, and like it's one of those movies you see clips of, but you don't necessarily sit down and say, I'm going to watch Trading Places from beginning to end. I
Sure.
did that, and what's great about it is I don't know if you remember, like they're terrible people, like,
Yes.
and I mean R.J. Fletcher is a terrible person in UHF, but it's so cartoonish. But
Yeah.
there's something believable about how terrible the people in Trading Places are,
Yes. Yes. They are terrible people. Yes.
and I mean like they're the kinds of people that when people hate capitalists, which I don't, but when they do, they hate people like this.
Yeah,
And
indeed.
if this is the example of capitalism, then it's really, you go like, well, then in that case, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like it's like people like, oh, I don't like socialism. Why? Stalin. Fair enough. Like, you win. I don't like that either. But if you were gonna say like ABBA and Volvo, I mean, maybe you'd feel a little differently. So
Sure.
I wouldn't. I still don't like ABBA. But or ABBA. I guess it's ABBA. But anyways, so I'm gonna go with Randolph and Mortimer from Places. But man, Mike and Vanessa, just the fact that you brought up R.J. Fletcher from UHF, like, it's just, it's so yummy. Like, it's so good. It's like, oh, it makes
It
me
is
so
so
happy.
choice.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. My answer's Biff, and I'll tell you why.
Do tell me why.
Randolph and Mortimer Duke, it doesn't stick. If you see Coming to America, I'll leave it there because I don't want to spoil it.
But that's okay.
They're absolutely they're the same characters,
Yeah,
and it doesn't
I
stick.
don't consider that. That's fine. That's mid
Valid,
Raj. That's mid
valid.
Raj. Okay, go
I just
ahead.
I don't know. No. I would probably pick them, but there is something so delicious about first off, getting buried in manure 3 movies in a row, or even just the first one. Oh, it's so good because we all knew a guy like Biff, right?
Yeah.
I am overly proud of the trappings. I'm overly proud of this car that I have. I'm overly proud of my sweet flat top haircut that was cool in the 50s. I'm overly proud of the fact that I'm a football star and I have the prettiest girl on my arm, not
Right.
because I actually like her, but
Right.
because she's the prettiest girl who I can put on my arm, right?
Okay.
And it is so much like the Dukes, his comeuppance is so directly tied to his image and his self-worth that it is just, and not for nothing, it also saves the lives of everyone in that family, or all the kids at least.
Here's
It is also, not for nothing, I saw Back to the Future first, and when I was younger, and so I have internalized it more.
That's totally fair. And I would also say, when I think of his comeuppance as being the guy who works for them and cleans their car,
Yeah, indeed.
that makes more sense to me than saying buried in poop. Only because he gets buried in poop early on. That is not actually his comeuppance. That's
Well,
just
that's fair.
bad. I almost said some bad that happens to him, literally. But I mean,
Indeed.
it's some bad stuff that happens to him. But it's not actually his comeuppance. His comeuppance is basically that he becomes this sort of servant to them. So I hear that. I hear that.
I guess I was thinking, you know, and you're absolutely right. It's not his comeuppance. It's very early on. But I guess I was thinking sort of the first time you like what Biff would have been,
Yes.
and then you see him as a youngster, and so you already get like a little comeuppance because it's like, okay, you know, like
Yeah.
this is like
No, no.
I know what you're like, and this is what I get to see happen
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah.
But that's fair.
Okay. I think your Randolph and Mortimer example, I get the coming to America thing, but I think it's specious. I don't think it fits within the argument. Just because I just think that's another movie in another universe where they try to make a nod to that, but come on. And it's fun, but I don't actually think it's their actual characters in the sense of like, that's not what, I mean, it's not the same director. It's not the same filmmakers that have decided to like do this. So it's sort of a nod to another time. But I hear what you're saying. I'm, oh man, I'm still going with Randolph and Mortimer. I love Biff, and I love the greatest thing about Biff is actually that he shows up later on in Freaks and Geeks
Totally. Yes.
as a
Yes.
great. He's just so good in that.
Yes.
He's
So
so
good.
good in that.
So good. Yes.
Bill
Absolutely. No question.
Murray. Bill Murray's a smartass. Just he's so good in that movie, in that TV show. So good in that TV show. Okay.
Next question. Or
Next.
do you want to say more?
I love R.J. Fletcher. I love UHF. I wish Weird Al
Sure.
Yankovic would make another movie. It is, if you don't know UHF, it is one of those like like our generation of, and it's not just our generation, it's our generation of nerds knows
It's
this
lightning
movie.
in a bottle.
Oh,
It's great. It is great. Yes. Totally agreed. Next question. Best Steve Martin movie. The Jerk. Parenthood.
okay.
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Okay. I have my answer with tons of qualifiers.
Okay.
Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
I want you to go first.
Okay. Parenthood is by far my favorite of these three movies.
Yes.
The Jerk is, however, like the first sort of here is Steve Martin. Like and it's so utterly of who he was at that time. Like he didn't write the other two movies, but he wrote The Jerk, and it is so utterly his humor and so like the beginnings of this, like it is the transition of this comic genius from television and stand up to film in such a way that it's like to say anything, I could never even think of saying anything disparaging about The Jerk. It's so special. It's so great. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels is pure fun, and it's really good. And I love him and Michael Caine, and I think it's a really fun movie. I consider Parenthood a transcendent movie, and I actually didn't like the whole first, at least half season of the TV show Parenthood, because I was so frustrated by it not maintaining the tone of the movie. But
Yes.
Parenthood is one of those movies that if it's on, I'll watch it. And
Yeah.
to the degree that my wife, who likes the movie, is like, oh, God, oh, well, they need to stop showing this because Phil will keep watching. I love it so. I love every line. I love every scene. It's a movie that I grew up with, but not just that I grew up with. It's a movie that I have grown into, which is to say that I liked it when I was a kid for certain reasons. And now that I'm older, I like it for a whole different set of. I like it for all the reasons I liked it for, but now for a whole new set of reasons.
Yes.
So I think it's of the three, it's the most complete movie.
I agree with that.
The Jerk is absurdist in the best sense of the word, and Dirty Rotten Scoundrels is just a really well constructed comedy. Really well done, and a great watching him and Michael Caine together is fantastic. But Parenthood to me is the best overall film.
That's totally fair. I had a lot of trouble with this question because it depends, and we've run into questions like this on doing previous gauntlets. It depends on if the question is best movie that has Steve Martin in it, or the one that best embodies what a Steve Martin movie would be, right? And the reason that I don't know that you can say that Parenthood is that if you're going with the second one, if it's the first one, I totally agree with you. No reservation. The Parenthood is truly. I mean, I'll use your word. It is a transcendent movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's such an ensemble piece that I wonder if you can. I don't he's the lead, but there
Mm-hmm.
are so many people who are like 1A to his 1 that
Mm-hmm.
I have trouble calling it a Steve Martin movie, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. So I think I'm going with Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. If we're defining that, if we're defining it the second way.
Wow.
Here's the deal, though. I am very, very sad that the movie All of Me was not included in this list. That would, again, if
Really?
we're going, yes, if we're going off the second definition, the one that pops up when I think of a Steve Martin movie, whatever that means, All of Me and Roxanne.
Roxanne should be on this list.
Yeah,
Well, this is the list. They've made the list, so I can't
that's
say
true.
that.
That's
But
true.
it's their Gauntlet. But
Yep,
Roxanne is a quintessential Steve Martin movie.
sure.
I'd say Roxanne, and that's something that amazes me about Parenthood, though, is he manages to be part of the ensemble and be his own guy in a particular way. And I
I
love Dirty
agree.
Rotten Scoundrels, but I'm shocked that you would pick it over The Jerk, because I just think The Jerk is so. It's like it's you know what it's like to me. It's like if you had to bottle Steve Martin like as an entity,
If I can explain that further,
straight no chaser. You know what I mean?
if I can explain that further, the kind of humor that I get from The Jerk, I didn't see it at a time when it really took root. Like I saw it at a time when I wasn't in the mood for its comedy. I guess I didn't see it when I was really young. Um, I have seen it since, and I do love it. I I dislike none of these movies, clearly,
Right. No, totally.
but but by the time I watched The Jerk, I had already seen a bunch of his Saturday Night Live stuff. And that sort of absurdist humor that you get with the whatever the brothers are called, the two wild and crazy guys. Like
Yeah.
that was the stuff that I twigged to. If like they're similar sensibilities
Yeah.
and because of when I saw The Jerk, I associated it more with his SNL stuff.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. No, it totally does. It totally
Yeah.
does. And I think it is that bridge.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's like people saying that Life of Brian is a more mature Monty Python film, but because Holy Grail, no, I mean because Holy Grail came more on the heels of the TV show, and it's a little bit more sketchy, literally sketch
I agree.
oriented, and Life of Brian is more of a long narrative.
Right.
Um, but I would still just want. I mean, Holy Grail is just
Sure. Sure. No,
aptly
that's fair.
named. It's aptly named. Um, so yeah, I hear that though. I mean, I think honestly, sometimes with a gauntlet there are three choices and the answer is clear. This to me is one where any three of these answers would be acceptable. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels is to me not as good as the other two, but it's still a really. I mean, I could not fault one for picking it.
Sure.
So I could not fault you for picking it because you're the one who picked it.
I
So,
appreciate that. Next question.
oh boy,
If you could be one of
please.
the following characters, who
Oh,
would you be?
ooh,
Ripley,
that's a woman.
Sarah Connor,
Also a woman.
Trinity.
All three women.
Yes.
K. Ripley, everybody, is from the Alien saga.
Yes. Sarah Connor is
The
the female
Terminator
protagonist from the
saga.
Terminator movies.
And Trinity is the heroine from the Matrix
Indeed.
trilogy. Um, do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
I can go first.
Go for it.
Um, well, first off, I mean, without getting too spoilery, things don't end well for any of these people, really. So it's kind of choosing
They
which
don't. They don't.
they don't. They do not.
I'm gonna look something up
Somet-
while you're talking.
Sometimes the bad things don't happen in a movie that you see, but
Now you've lost me.
nevertheless,
What you just said.
say again.
You just lost me with that. With what you just said.
Like all of these are multiple movie franchises, right?
Sure.
Sometimes it's explained that between this movie and the last movie something bad happened, right?
Sure.
So, as a matter of fact, that's the case for two of them. Only Trinity has something bad happen to them. Oh no. Regardless. Um, I'm gonna go with Sarah Connor.
Okay.
Trinity, I the concept of the Matrix gives me the heebie-jeebies. It just does. All
Sure.
right, and as cool as it would be to do bullet time and like slow everything down and stuff like that, and it's fun, but it not worth the heebie-jeebies that I would get. Ripley, I mean, that I would be straight up terrified. I would be straight up terrified. And one of the things that I find so effective in the first movie is so is she. I mean, she does what she needs to do, but she is terrified for pretty much the entire movie.
Is Alien a horror movie?
Yes,
Alien is probably the first horror movie I have ever seen. I was in seventh grade,
doesn't surprise me because it
and
doesn't
I
because it.
and I loved it,
Me too.
and I still love it.
Me
And
too.
it might be my favorite Ridley Scott movie.
Valid.
Although
I
I don't
like
think
it.
I saw the one where Russell Crowe buys a winery, so it might not be my favorite Russell Crowe movie. My favorite Ridley Scott
Fair.
movie.
But Sarah Connor, Sarah Connor is completely human. She stays completely human. I like that sort of. If I can go mythological on you,
Please
I
do.
like that sort of Cassandra aspect to her, where she is telling people what's going to happen, and no one believes her, and she is branded as crazy, right?
Have you
Right?
seen Have you seen the Woody Allen movie Mighty Aphrodite, where they actually have a Greek chorus?
Yes.
And Cassandra's there, and she is like warning everybody, and someone goes, "Don't be such a Cassandra," and she goes, "I'm not being a Cassandra. I'm Cassandra. Like, this is the
Right.
deal." So,
Indeed.
anyways, okay,
Um,
continue.
and she's just a total badass. In other words,
My
Ripley
my favorite
kind of,
female action hero of all time.
yeah, Ripley is just a like she's terrified, but she gets the job done, and then she outmarines the Marines in Aliens, and I love that movie. I'm not denigrating Aliens, but Sarah Connor is just a normal person who goes through a believable transformation into a total badass,
Yep.
and I
Yes.
love it. So I'm going with Sarah Connor.
Does she meet a terrible fate? I don't remember Terminator 3 what they say. I don't remember. She's not in Terminator 3, so I don't remember.
Shall I say it? I mean,
Okay, everyone, if you don't want to know what happens, please, the spoiler for Terminator 3, Andy's going to say something and just fast forward 10 seconds.
indeed.
I'm going to wave my hands until Andy's done saying it, and then when I'm done waving my hands, you can watch again.
Nice.
Go ahead.
In between Terminator 2 and Terminator 3, she dies of cancer. She's not
Okay,
in Terminator
got it.
3, and it's
Got it.
because she dies of cancer in the interim.
Okay, I'm going to stop waving my hands now.
Do.
All right, we're back from the spoiler. Okay, you actually have helped me pick big time.
Okay.
Okay?
By the
Um,
way, unfortunately, that was ingenious, right? Waving your hands.
Doesn't work for
Will
the
do
listeners.
our iTunes listeners no good.
But I did tell them 10 seconds.
That's true. You're right.
So
You're right.
Okay, you do what you can. By the way, again, and while I respect us being careful with spoilers, Terminator 3 to me. I've said this before, and it's one of those like if I would, if ever there was a time when I wished there would be like something attributed to me, it's the saying, "I can't spoil Terminator 3. Terminator 3 spoils itself." And
Fair,
and
fair.
I feel that way, but I think we're doing good work here. Okay, Andy pointed out I was going to say Trinity,
Okay.
but I was only going to say Trinity because I've only seen the third one once, and I forgot, spoiler, 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 that Trinity dies at the end.
Indeed.
So
Indeed.
Mike and Vanessa have given us a question wherein it is impossible to meet a good fate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I was going to choose her because she dies and then gets brought back to life, and that she gets to be with Canoe, but then not have to deal with him for the rest of her life. So that's good. But you're right about how creepy living in the Matrix would be. Um,
Interestingly, as you're thinking about this, think about this as well. Not only do they all meet unfortunate fates, they kind of don't have the impact that you would think they would. Ripley does not beat the corporation, right? Wayland Yutani is just as evil at the end of the Alien movies as they are at the beginning. Sarah Connor does not prevent Judgment Day, and Trinity is only extraordinarily indirectly involved in the freeing of the humans in the Matrix series.
okay, you've helped me make my choice.
Okay.
Everything you said, your entire argument is airtight. And I would almost go with you just because, first of all, everything Ripley's out of the question. Ripley's out of the question for every reason imaginable because everything about her life is terrible.
Everything.
There is never a moment when I think to myself, it'd be kind of cool to be her.
Right.
Literally never a moment.
Right.
I almost pick Linda Hamilton in Terminator 2, except I'm realizing that, and the way that she meets her fate is not as bad as the other two, except it could be worse because you really never know what that thing is like.
You're right. You're right.
You have. I'm also basing it almost entirely on how attracted I am to her in Terminator 2. That's not a really good reason to be somebody. Her life seems miserable.
Indeed.
Miserable.
Yes.
Trinity, her fate comes quickly. And she spends so much of her life just kicking major ass. and owning it, like owning it, and wearing awesome outfits and being the hottest chick in Zion. I think it's a great deal for her. I really do. I think that she's, as if you have to, it's the best of three terrible situations. So originally I was going to say Trinity. Almost talked myself out of it, going back to it.
Fair.
She
Totally
never
fair.
has a crazy alien living in her body. She
Indeed.
doesn't get any terrible diseases.
Indeed.
One minute she's rocking and rolling, and the next minute it's done for her.
It's true.
And in the meantime, she does slow motion kung fu and dodges bullets. I win. She wins. I love it. I'm going with Trinity. I'd be Trinity. And by the way, let's not forget, the Christian chooses someone named Trinity. Come on.
Fair.
Her
Fair.
name is Trinity, and she marries the Messiah.
Can we discuss how I love what you said about Ripley? Like, every moment is just terrible. Think of it this way. Every time she goes to sleep, when she wakes up, everyone she knows is dead.
Yup. Well, the very,
Because-
very first time she goes to sleep, that's not true.
Right, but then she puts her at the end of a movie. At the end of
Right.
the movie, because she puts herself to sleep in the cryo chamber and
And then
she's
wakes
in
up
animation.
70 years later or something?
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's never good for her.
Your daughter is dead. Like, So, unbelievable. Okay, moving on.
She does get to meet Winona Ryder, though, and I think that's worthwhile.
Fair, totally. If you could be one of the following characters, who would you be?
Thought we did that already.
James Bond,
Okay.
Legolas,
wait, hold on. Game over, but go ahead.
Ferris Bueller. You go.
Legolas.
Yeah.
Legolas! He's immortal. Every female elf they show is gorgeous. He's in soft focus all the time. Even when everyone else is in like sharp focus, he's like soft and angelic.
He is wonderfully lit all the time.
Oh, to be this is the gayest I will ever sound. To be that wonderfully lit all the time. Oh, there it is. The gayest I'll ever sound. I love him. I love him. Okay. The perks of being Ferris Bueller. Mia Sarah.
Indeed.
And ladies and gentlemen, I do not take that lightly.
And the knowledge before you do anything, you're gonna succeed and or get away with it.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah,
I know that he's a mythical creature, this Ferris Bueller. And so you're right, except that I can't help but believe that his life peaks around the senior year of high school. It might not. It could. Maybe it only gets better. But I kind of doubt it. Like, maybe, but I kind of doubt it.
It's so interesting. That's so well said. Yeah.
I might be wrong, though. James Bond, I have no interest. I have no interest. The level that guy gets tortured and messed with, the only thing you could say about James Bond, in my opinion, if you were going to argue it,
sure,
is that he's super cool, which is fine, and that he sleeps with a lot of hot women, but I'm not that interested. I mean, and I know I'm like, ooh, but really, I mean, like, I'm kind of a monogamist. Not kind of. I am a monogamist. I'm married, and it works out fine. But I mean, even before I was married, like that mentality, like,
sure.
Like I watched Skyfall, and I remember being like enjoying the movie, great movie. But I remember being like, James Bond is sort of a misogynist, and it like,
sort of.
I'm trying to be polite.
Fair.
Legolas, on the other hand, first of all, I bet he's super sensitive. I bet the ladies love him, and I bet he gives killer foot massages. And everything about Legolas is right. I mean, and again, let's go back to immortality. In the words of Woody Allen, I don't want to achieve immortality through my work. I want to achieve immortality by not dying.
I love that quote. So, here's why I don't want to pick Legolas. Okay?
Okay.
Because it seems like it's low-hanging fruit. And because I have a feeling that immortality would get really boring. Like, super boring. There's a reason that Tolkien, like, the fact that man is mortal in Middle-earth, humans call it the curse of man, and the elves call it the gift of man. Or
yeah, but they all
like
they all end up going to the Grey Havens, right? I mean,
I don't think so. You mean like human spirits when they die?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Tolkien
was a Catholic, so
I know. Tolkien fans out there, let us know. Tell us.
Yeah, I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
So do you think... Go ahead.
Having said that, I cannot find flaws in your logic. And I don't think I will do anything ever as well as Legolas fires an arrow from a bow.
I agree with you, and I'll take it a step further.
Okay.
I don't think I'll do anything as well as Legolas does everything. Like, that guy probably pees better than I do. I mean, there's just like, I can't imagine a thing that he doesn't do better than me. I really can't. It's like, just
you're standing next to him. You're standing next to him at like a stadium. You're like, man, his stream is so even and
just perfect.
Pure.
And he just stands like this, and it just
all the time.
He doesn't even touch it. He's just like,
Indeed.
It's amazing.
So my answer is Legolas as well. Get it.
Question for you, which you don't have to answer. You mentioned immortality being boring. Do you think that nothing happens when you die? Like, do you think when you die you're done? Like that's the end of Andy? Consciousness wise.
I don't know.
Okay. I mean, I hope you don't feel pressured by me asking you that question. It's just you and I've never really talked about that.
No.
Because I think it's a really, I mean, Roger Ebert in his article about why he thinks, what happens when you die, he's like, nothing happens and I'm fine with that. I mean, and I know how much you love Ebert, and I'm sure you've read that article.
I read that and I really liked that. I really like that. Yeah, for those who have not read it, which I'm guessing is most of the people watching or listening to this, he basically says, "After I die, I just think I'll cease to be." And he says, "I was perfectly content before I was born, so
Yeah.
I feel like I'll be perfectly content after I die." There's something, if there is no afterlife, there's something awfully poetic about that.
If there is no afterlife, I want Roger Ebert's view. I
Indeed,
mean, I think he says it
indeed,
beautifully. Um,
indeed.
Unfortunately for me, my entire lifetime and career is hinging on the idea that there is something more.
It's true. It's problematic for you to ascribe too fully to Roger Ebert.
But but
It's problematic.
but I love reading. I love things like that. Like I love reading his point of view and being like, okay, that's not mine, but I think Christians should read it.
Sure.
I don't think you should believe in an afterlife just out of fear that there is none. I think you should have all the ideas out there and just go what works in my what speaks truth to me, and if and I mean have all the evidence, So that's why that's why I think it's funny. I've said this before on the show, but like in college I was reading a lot of Ayn Rand, and I don't read her anymore. I'm not. I've done
Mm-hmm.
it. I'm all set. And I disagree with her fundamentally on many things, but I find it really interesting. People are like, you shouldn't read her. I'm like, no, I think you should. I think she presents really fascinating arguments for selfishness, for atheism, for humanism. That I think you can hate them and disagree with them, but dude, there's some powerful stuff there that you can disagree with powerfully. That's worth your
Sure.
time. Anytime
Totally.
someone's like, you should never read that, except for the Left Behind series, please don't read that nonsense. Please. And I say this literally, for the love of Jesus, please don't read that nonsense. All right, anyway, go ahead. Go ahead.
Right.
What's next?
The one thing I'll say before we continue the gauntlet, I have read the last page of the Left Behind series. I was in an airport somewhere, and I was like, how are these people going to portray Jesus and heaven and yada, yada, yada? And I read the last page, and it is... I urge everyone to read that page, because it is, in its own way, totally glorious.
Now I have
And
a
I would
question.
not deprive anyone the pleasure of finding out what it says.
The last page of the first book or the last page of the very last book?
The last page of the very last book.
I will absolutely find that and look it up.
Yes, it's amazing. It's amazing.
There should be a website that just shows last pages of books. What a brilliant website. Called it, but
for
if
Harry.
anyone does that, this is time stamped.
Nice. For Harry from When Harry Met Sally. That, my friend, is a dark side. Okay, moving on. You can see only one movie this summer. What do you choose? Iron Man 3, Man of Steel, Monsters University, Star Trek Into Darkness.
Oof. This is a hard one for me because I just saw the newest trailer for Man of Steel,
Which melted your face off like the Nazis at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
but then magically put it back together again.
Totes. Totally. No, absolutely.
Based on my loves, my stock answer would be Monsters University because I love Pixar so much.
Sure.
Based on the previews I've seen, and with the assumption that I'll see all of these eventually, if I could only see one this summer, Man of Steel, because of the trailers that I have seen. Followed closely by Iron Man 3, just because the Marvel Universe has not steered me wrong yet.
Sure.
So that's my answer.
I would reverse your top two, but they are close, as yours are. I think the deciding factor is just what you said. The Marvel Cinematic Universe hasn't steered us wrong yet, and I know that it's Chris Nolan producing it, but Zack Snyder is hit or miss, and he just has to prove it. He just has to prove it.
Sure.
And I look forward to him proving it, and it's not like I'm not going to be there opening night.
Yeah.
But he has to prove it. Does that make sense? That's where I'm coming from.
No, it doesn't. It almost sways me. Although I think Shane Black has to prove it too. I really do. I think as a writer, he's proven that he's really, really good sometimes, and that he can be too clever by half when he feels like it. And as a
True.
director, who knows? I
Kiss
mean,
Kiss
he's
Bang Bang is great.
just. I saw it the other day. I thought it was okay. I thought it
Oh,
was okay. I thought it was.
I disagree with you.
I
I
thought.
mean,
I
that's
thought.
maybe
I
that's
thought it was
where.
well. I thought it was well constructed,
Okay.
but and finally directed. I didn't really have a problem with it. But as a writer, which he wrote, I think it's too clever by half.
Oh, that's true.
And they all do a wonderful job within the frame of reference that it's too clever by half.
I guess we're falling back on the same argument, not argument, but discussion we always have is I don't mind artifice as much as you do.
Yeah. And
Um,
it's just there's a lot of actually here I go saying it. Ebert's review of it I thought was really well said. Like read Ebert's review because he talks about how it would have been really funny. It was funny enough. You don't need all the mugging at the camera being like
right.
and I've always had a problem with like the sort of like
Fair, no, fair. And I
so
remember
so
disagreeing with
but
Ebert. But
Sure, and I think Downey Jr. and Val Kilmer are great in it, and I love their chemistry, and I think the
yep,
girl in it is does a really wonderful job, and I
yes,
love anytime Corbin Burnson gets brought back into my world.
indeed.
Uh, uh, so I didn't by any means hate it,
Sure.
but it doesn't make me go, oh, Shane Black's doing the next Iron Man 3, whatever. So we'll see. But
Fair.
yeah, it's a toss
That's
up.
fair.
What is your take on Monsters University? Do you think it's going to be good? Are you nervous? You look nervous.
My excitement level out of 10 for every Pixar movie is a 10.
Yes.
But when you've got
Cars 2 though, Andy. Cars 2.
but when you've got to see but Cars 2 because so Toy Story 2 I was not as excited for. It turned out to be a wonderful movie, but I was like, ugh, they're making a sequel, right?
Right.
Um and so that was at like a 9.5, right? And then I saw Toy Story 2 and I was like, and then when they announced Toy Story 3 I was like, yes. Right? Cars, it was like a 9.5, and I actually didn't end up it's the only Pixar movie I did not see in the theater until Cars 2.
Cars 2. Yep.
And I was like, okay.
Cars. I didn't see Bugs Life in the theater.
Did you not?
No, because I wasn't ready. I wasn't there yet where I was like, Pixar's amazing. But I
Sure.
did see it and I liked it. And then Toy Story 2, I think, was when I realized, wow, wait a minute. Pixar really is something special. And then I saw them all in the theater until I saw Cars later in the theater. And actually, one of the co-constructors of this Gauntlet, Mike Robb, he and I saw Cars together. And we were like, it was the first, we both walked out of there going, okay.
Right.
And then
Monsters University.
I didn't see Cars 2 in the theater.
I have yet to see Cars 2 at all.
Yes.
Monsters University, it's like a 9.9. I'm really excited for it, but I wish they would do not a prequel.
Sure.
Even a sequel would be more interesting.
I think I agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm throwing myself on the trust of you guys have. If it's the same people who actually wrote and directed and made Monsters Inc., which is just brilliant.
I agree.
So I gotta trust them. But
Yes.
yeah, Man of Steel.
And for me, Iron Man 3. Moving on.
Man of Steel.
But betray one of the following characters. And I want to read you the first name
Like
because
stab in the back.
Dr. and Dr. Rob, you have there's kind of a funny typo here. The first character, Samwise Gamgees.
I saw that, like the Ganges River
Indeed.
instead of
It's
Gamgee.
Gamgee?
Yeah.
Gamgee? Samwise Gamgee. Adorable. I love you both. Butch Cassidy. Atticus Finch.
Wow.
I'm going. It's gotta be Butch Cassidy. It has
Yeah.
to be, and I'll tell you
Okay.
why.
She wants,
Because
she wants apple juice, by the way.
nice.
So go ahead. Pick your nose on
because
kid.
because betraying Sam is like kicking a puppy.
Yeah.
Just like kicking a puppy. And Atticus Finch, betraying Atticus Finch would be like betraying not just your dad, but every dad. And Butch Cassidy is used to getting betrayed. He is an outlaw. He can handle it.
Yep.
It really isn't more complicated for me than that.
It's a great question. My answer is identical. I thought about, first of all, Samwise Gamgee was right out, and shame on you for suggesting it.
Right?
I almost chose Atticus Finch because he's a lawyer, and as great as he is in that movie, he's done something shady at some point. Am I right, Andy? Am I right? It's a joke. Andy's a lawyer, everybody. Ah.
No.
But I mean, in Butch Cassidy, the problem with betraying him is twofold. One, you're betraying Paul Newman, who's so adorable in that movie, just the most charming person alive.
True.
And two, his partner will kill you. And quickly.
That's fair. That's fair.
But he's an outlaw and a liar and a bad person in reality. And of the three of them, one you wouldn't want to hang out with. So that's the answer. That's the answer. I'm getting my daughter apple juice. I will hear the next question. Keep talking.
Okay. You must remake one. There's sort of a bonus question, but other than that, this is our last question. You must remake one of the following movies: The Goonies or The Princess Bride.
Are you taping? Yes, I'm taping. Go away. Take the child away from me. There's the apple juice. Remake Princess Bride or The Goonies.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, I had the answer immediately, but and the answer is not. That's not the answer. It's The Goonies, and I think first of all, they asked us this question knowing that these two movies are. We consider both of these movies perfect as they are.
Yes.
And if someone actually wanted to remake either of them, why I oughta.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say The Goonies for several reasons.
Okay.
No, actually, for one big reason. Okay? The Goonies is written and it's placed in the time in which it is filmed. It is a movie of its time with characters set in the 80s, blah, 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 blah. A remake would mean a new cast of characters with new chemistry in a new time with many possibilities. It could be a disaster. Easily could be a disaster.
Yes.
But the beauty of The Goonies is based on the chemistry of the characters, one, and the excitement of the adventure, two.
Mm-hmm.
That is something you could, if not replicate, you could reimagine.
Agreed.
There is no way to replicate, reimagine, or redo The Princess Bride. The Princess Bride is not set in modern times. It is set in a specific period. Its charm is that it's a storybook. Remaking it for a new time, you'd still be telling it in the previous time. So you wouldn't actually be changing anything in that sense. The Princess Bride is lightning in a bottle. Mm-hmm. It is lightning in a bottle. It is so many things that could have gone wrong, didn't. There's no way that you can hear other actors saying those lines and be okay with it. It is everybody on their game, actors who have never done, some who have gone on to do great things, some who have never done anything comparable by a long shot. And it is part of its perfection is that it is exactly these people at exactly this moment and exactly this time, and you cannot improve upon it. I don't believe you can improve upon Goonies either, but I believe you could do something different with the Goonies by virtue of the fact that it's made at a different time. That's my answer.
I agree with you.
Oh boy.
My answer is The Princess Bride. No, sorry, my answer is The Goonies, because and for many of the reasons you say, the one thing that I think I disagree with you on is the reason that The Goonies would be reimagined is that it would be set in a different time. And I mean, my response to that is The Three Musketeers keeps getting remade and they never change it. I mean,
It also never gets better.
I agree. No, no, no. I
And
agree.
they're going back to the book rather than remaking the movie.
Also fair. Also fair.
Okay.
Um, I don't know that that sways me, but regardless, my answer is the same, and I'll tell you why. And it's actually very simple. Andre the Giant. He is
Hmm.
who plays that role now.
Mm-mm.
I
Mm-mm.
mean, who plays? I agree with you. Who plays any of those roles? But I can see someone playing Sean Astin's role in The Goonies. I can see someone playing
Yes.
Josh Brolin's or whatever the kid's name is plays
Corey
Data
Feldman.
or
Or yeah, no, literally any of them can be not replicated, but you could
right,
find
right.
someone who could do something special. Or you
But
could find a different cast of boys.
I can see I wouldn't want to, but I could see someone playing Inigo Montoya or or Wesley or
Sure.
Princess Buttercup.
Sure.
It's hard for me to, but it's hard for me to see someone playing Mikey or Data.
But I just think they would come up with here's my and I'm not I think they would come up with different you could come up with a different group of boys and it would still be effective or
Fair.
could be has the
That's
potential to be
fair.
effective.
That's
That's
fair.
all I'm saying. But go ahead.
But there is no one alive that
Mhm.
combines the physicality and the heart of Andre the Giant.
I'm with you.
He is, I mean, there are documentaries about the making of Princess Bride and how wonderful he was and how everybody loved him and how he would do things. And this is kind of sad because he clearly had some dependency issues, but like he would drink like 2 barrels of liquor and then pass out in the hallway and people were like, how how do we get him to his bed? How do we do that? He's
Right.
seven
Right.
foot something and several
Yeah.
hundred pounds.
I guess he sleeps there tonight.
Yeah, exactly. I guess he sleeps there tonight. But there is something so inherently sweet about
Yes.
him. And I mean, and there are wrestlers who I enjoy. I will watch The Rock in pretty much anything. I proved that with G.I. Joe Retaliation, right?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
And I don't think he's a great actor. To be fair, I don't think Andre the Giant is a great actor either. But I think he was kind of playing himself when he played Fezzik.
I hear you.
And
As
I
someone who
think from all signs point to him actually being that sweet. And
oh,
there's no one who can replicate it. There's no one who could even reimagine it. The only thing that I could see them do is some sort of weird like Jack Reacher thing where Jack Reacher the character is supposed to be enormous and Tom Cruise played him and he's tiny. And so
stop.
the way that they did that was instead of brute strength, he's like completely clinical and totally technically sound. And as someone who only read one of the books after I saw the movie, for me it worked. But I just don't think it would work. I don't think it would work
And
with
as
Fezzik, and
and
I
as
don't
someone
think it
who
would do it again.
knows, and as someone speaking of myself who knows, that's a great point, Andy. It's someone who actually watches wrestling still today, and I know who's around. There's no one. I mean, there's no one that could compare. There's the more you watch wrestling, which is a sad way to start a sentence. But I do watch, but I do watch WWE. In case people worry that I'm too snobby, I totally watch professional wrestling.
Nice.
Um, the more you stick around and watch professional wrestling, the more you realize just how unique Andre the Giant was.
Mm-hmm.
More so than Hulk Hogan, more so than Roddy Piper, more so than Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Junkyard Dog, Dusty Rhodes. I mean, the list goes on. And guys, I love Million Dollar Man, Ted DiBiase. There's so many great old wrestler characters, but when you see the guys that they have now, there's different people that kind of replicate what they do. You cannot. There's no one that's ever been like Andre the Giant. I still just stick to my personal reasoning, but your reason is flawless. So
Thank you. And Phil,
yes,
are you ready for the last
yes,
question?
yes.
Quick. Red wire or blue wire? Red wire or blue wire?
Blue Wire.
I go red. One of us is dead.
It's you.
I don't know. I don't.
Okay.
I we're like Schrodinger's podcasters. One of us is dead and one of us is alive, but we don't know which, right?
I like to think that I pulled the blue cord before you pulled the red cord, and so we're both safe. You're welcome.
Well played. Well played, sir. That's it. That's our gauntlet. Good Lord, Doctor and Dr. Rob. This was a marathon.
It's a long gauntlet.
Long gauntlet.
Are we splitting this up into two, or are we just gonna just crush people's hearts?
We're going to crush people's hearts.
Good for us.
Crushing hearts.
Good for us.
Crushing hearts and taking names.
That's it.
And with that, it's about time to say goodbye.
Yep.
We are Second Breakfast. I'm Andy Roth. That's Phil Duvall. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
Bye.